Доброе утро. Good morning. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. Доброе
Uh,
утро.
Welcome to Russian Notes user group. And just before the session, we set with Chris new Guinness record, right, Chris?
That's true. I learned Russian in what is it? Less than 10 seconds, I think.
Yeah, it's my new course, and it's most expensive course worldwide. So I'm learning Russian language. So Chris now knows Доброе утро, right?
Доброе утро, right.
Доброе утро. So let's start with the session. Good luck, Chris. And we know that all your sessions are really hot. You bring us coolest tips and tricks about notes. And as I said on opening general session, I can't imagine client who have notes but does not have Panagenda Marvel client and other tools. So good luck, Chris.
Thank you very much, Vlad. Speak to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, Доброе утро. Good morning, everyone. These are my nearly only 2 Russian words. And last time I also said I need to learn Russian more intense. So next year, I hopefully will be able to speak a bit better than today. Our today's title is HCL Notes 1101 FP2 Performance Boost Reloaded. Why reloaded? It's because we are doing, means Panagenda is doing that particular session for a long time, and we are updating and updating and updating it. And since every new version is coming out, we will adjust the session to the latest stuff, let's say it this way. And today we want to talk about 1101 FP2, everything what we know about the release. A lot of stuff is valid for also the old versions. A couple of things are pretty unique and new for the latest version of Notes. So let's jump into the next slide. Before we start, a couple of words about my person. Hello, everyone, again. My name is Christoph Adler. I'm a senior consultant at Panagenda. And I'm doing this job for more than 19 years now. I'm very focused on Notes client management, including HCL Nomad and HCL Nomad Web in the future. The analysis and optimization of Notes and Domino infrastructures in general, a bit of application modernization, a bit of client cloud migrations. And yeah, I think you already got it. I'm a German. Maybe you can hear that from my accent. I'm a German, and some other stuff you can see here. I'm a bass player, geek. I like to play with IT stuff. I like music, football, and of course beer. I'm an HCL ambassador. And yeah, now I'm happy being here presenting at the Russian Notes user group. All my slides are available on SlideShare. So you can just go to slideshare.net/Christoph Adler50. And also those slides will be published there directly after the session. But I'm also sure that the AirNook team, the Russian Notes user group team, will publish my slides for you, means for the participants. Okay, let's get into the agenda. You see, we have a couple of topics here, and typically I can say that typically we do not have enough time for all the topics. But I really do not want to remove any of the topics. So what you will see is, you will see a couple more slides in the slide deck you can download later, as I will show you here. And the reason is because of time, right? So let's just jump directly into our first topic about notes. So start about HCL Notes. First of all, what is the current version? We do have Notes 1101 FP2 out. We have a couple of different scenarios or different clients out there. First of all, we do have the standard client. This is a client where I'm focused on and what the most users in the world are using. But also we have a basic client, as you know, that's the old-fashioned Notes client without the Eclipse environment. And then there's also the admin and designer client. That's what we are using, the designers or the developers and administrators. But the most commonly used is by users is the standard client. And there's something else, something different. It's called the HCL Client Application Access. This is mostly built for customers which are only only touching applications. Means maybe it's due to a license, or maybe you just only want to touch applications and not mail. You can use the HCL Client Application Access. The current version is 3.03. I think, which includes FP2 of 11.01, and in short, we call it HCAA. Yeah, it's often used at customers, but it can be used. Let's say it this way. I'm not focused on that. And of course, we have the old story. We have single user installations where the data folder is often directly in the program folder of Notes Client. Or even the multi-user installation, which is the heavily used variant of Notes, let's say it this way. This is a splash screen, 11.01 FP2. So if you never saw Notes 11, this is it. And I mean, this is what the users will see when they start Notes. Let's talk a bit about the folders, the directories of the Notes client. On the program folder, because we have a couple of changes here, right? Between Notes 10 and Notes 11, HCL rebranded the Notes client from, again, IBM to HCL. So also we have some couple of folder changes. So you see, if you have a Windows 64-bit system running, the Notes client will be in program files x86 HCL Notes. And if you have a Windows 32-bit client, which is still supported, you would have it in C program files HCL Notes. The shared data folder, and that I mean the default location of the shared data folder is program data HCL Notes data shared, and the data folder, the data directory, is on the default side. You can of course use it on somewhere else, often used on network shares or on different locations. But the default, the suggestion by the vendor and also by myself, is to use it in your local app data of the user. Means C users and then the username, app data, local, HCL Notes data. Right? That's the new folders, and this is where again the vendor will suggest to use it. Let's get a bit about back to the Notes client itself. What you now see is a pretty default Notes client workspace, and this is the workspace. And I just say that here, this is the normal mode how the Notes client works with applications, and that's the reason why we go through those points now step by step. It will be a bit complex at the end, but everything is very simple. So what you see here is the workspace, right? And on the workspace, we do have workspace pages. On the workspace pages, we do have workspace icons. And behind those icons, we do have NSF databases. Those NSF databases can be on the server or even locally. In this case, on the top left position, the bookmarks database is a local database. If we talk about the bookmarks, the bookmark database does contain the toolbars and the bookmarks, of course. On the left side, you see the bookmark bar, which is not docked by default, but I docked it just to see that we are able to see it here. So those bookmarks are part of the bookmark database. And if you use those bookmarks, means the bookmark of the mail file icon, or if you have put what you can see here, a couple of custom bookmarks, if you use them, there are 3 different types of bookmarks out there. I want to make it just short and easy to understand. We do have the absolute bookmarks, which are bookmarks that contains the username, a replica ID of the application, a server name, replica ID of the application, and a path and file name, means a folder and file name of the location. So those 3 elements. In that case, the workspace will not be asked. This is not the bookmark which is often used. The most often used bookmark is is a relative bookmark. The relative bookmark will only contain an replica ID. And if you open such a bookmark, the Notes client will ask the workspace, do you have a database icon with that replica ID? The workspace then says maybe yes, and then the bookmark or the database on top of the stack will be used. Means it could be a local database, it could be a database on a server, but the top of the stack database will be used for that bookmark. And the last one is the hinted bookmarks, which will contain a replica ID and which will be first tried. And then if it's not working because there is no database icon on the workspace, it will have also a server name and a path to the database. But this will only be used as a fallback. So those three kinds of bookmarks, and this can cause a lot of, let's say weird situations. So it's pretty important if you work with bookmarks to create the correct ones. I would always suggest create database icons on the workspace pointing to the correct servers and then generate bookmarks from them, right? But this is not the only thing what we have in the bookmark database. We do also have the background image. So if you want to choose it in different background image, as you can see right now, you can make a right click on your workspace, you go to background, and the default is what you see here. You can click on none, that means the background will be removed, or you can click on what you see here, choose, and choose will mean you can choose your very own background image. The background image then will be copied directly into the bookmark database. So the next step would be on the right-hand side, the local names NSF. You can see down right. So my contacts database. And my contacts database is also a local database, which is not only containing contacts and groups, but also, for instance, the location document. And the location document itself has a couple of fields, including the mail server and including the path to my mail database. So it has that, and also to the replicator page. So it has directly impact back to the workspace and the bookmarks. For instance, the mail, calendar, and the contacts bookmarks are based on the location, the to-dos bookmarks are based on the location document, right? And as I said, the next thing would be the replicator and sync page. So it means all entries of the replicator and sync page are based on entries in my location document. Right behind those replication and sync page entries, we do have physical NSFs, of course, on the server and locally. And with which server I'm replicating is based on which server is on top of stack or the next one, or even the settings of the detailed settings or deeper settings in the replicator sync page on the entries. And this has, of course, direct input or direct impact on the workspace and the other way around. So you see, there's a lot of impacts when you use the workspace, the bookmarks, the location document, the replicator and sync page. And I would say what we can learn from that is use correctly set database icons on the workspace. That will make your life easier. So if you have outdated servers, if you have non-existing servers any longer, remove them from workspace, and that will just make Notes clients, I wouldn't say more stable, but faster and more reliable for users. So you see, everything is easy here. Let's jump into the next slide. This is really just the introduction of the Notes client. We want to get in a couple of deeper topics here. Let's quickly talk about performance tips and tricks. The first one is you do not have to read it out right now. This is if you want to use those slides at home or in your company, right? So what a customer asked us, it's a longer time ago. And I see I do have a wrong entry here, so it shouldn't be V11 beta, whatever. And so this was introduced in 901 FP9. So a customer asked us, and this is pretty, this was the thing a couple of years ago. a customer asked us, you know what, we updated our notes clients and afterwards we had problems on our Domino server. And what we see is we have more than 30% of more CPU usage just by upgrading our notes client. Why can that happen? IBM added a new functionality in 901 FP9. It's called delegated mail files are refreshed automatically. It's pretty easy. If you're using delegated mail files and you have, let's say, 5 delegated mail files on your workspace, this feature will be automatically be enabled and will all the time when your inbox, your personal mailbox gets refreshed automatically, it will not only refresh your personal mailbox, but also the delegated mail files. Now the thing comes, a delegated mail file is if you open a calendar lookup for a user. So if you plan a meeting and you check out the calendar for the user, you can end up getting a database icon on your workspace for that user. So you will see a lot of mail files on your workspace maybe. And all those mail files will add to the notes INI as the delegated mail files. And those mail files will be automatically added to the feature that the inbox gets refreshed automatically. You will end up in a scenario, and I saw that already, that users have more than 50 databases of delegated mail files. So if a user then starts a notes client, the first thing is that the inbox will be refreshed after logging in. So it takes a longer time to start. It takes a longer time to work. And also on the Domino server side, you're not checking one database, but 30 databases. So this can cause a lot of network bandwidth, not bandwidth, but latency maybe, network and CPU usage for the CPU, for the server, Domino server. So I would suggest if you don't want to use that, you can do that. The only thing what you have to do is you have to remove from the notes INI all the delegated _* entries. What you can also use is what you see here, the second blue entry, and that's a debug _disable _auto _refresh _delegated _inbox equals 1. So it's a very easy to use notes INI entry, but this entry will remove the feature, right? So it will disable the feature. You can just use it. If you want to know more, you see a link here, and this was, you see it's from last year, not a couple of years ago. It's a bit more than 1 year ago. It's from January 2019, and yeah, you can read it out, and this helps for a lot of customers. So if a customer is asking me, I can feel some performance issues here, this is one of the things I'm checking first. The next thing is the JVM properties file. I think you're all aware the Eclipse part of the Notes client does have of course, a JVM behind, means a Java runtime environment and Java virtual machine. And those the virtual machine does have a JVM.properties file, which can be configured, or where you can configure the JVM. So in the past, you could set those entries, what you see here right now, and it would speed up your Notes client, it would make it better. But this is not true any longer. Due to a couple of things from the HCL side, so they switched, for instance, the JVM from the old IBM JVM to the new JDK version, the Open JDK version. There were, let's say, a couple of things which is causing a new problem. Let's say it this way. I don't want to get too deep into it. On the slides you can download later, I have a couple of more slides just to that topic to understand it more deeply, but we simply do not have enough time to speak about that. I will just show you the results. The result is, please only use in the JVM properties file the XMX 512 megabytes instead of 1024. And you can also try to use 768. That's also okay. The XMS should be set to 256, and the XMCA should be set to 512K. That is what you see on the left side is the suggestions from my side, from PenAgenda, to use it this way. And again, on the slide deck later, you will also have a couple of links where we describe it better because we do have a blog entry about that. We call it the out of memory mystery. So if you use, just saying, so if you use this old stuff, the XMX 1024 megabytes, you will experience client crashes pretty soon with Notes 11. So don't use it. Use this, please. Okay, next thing. Next thing is very, often heavily discussed. We're talking about antivirus scanners. So antivirus scanners or on-access scanners, antivirus solutions are pretty important for all companies in the world. The thing is that they can also slow down the machine pretty heavily. So what I would suggest is, you can see that on the right side. So on a data folder, we have about more than 55% of the entire data folder can be changed during the day. Not only once, but more than once. So we have a lot of files in the data folder, and this causes a lot of file I/O. And if you have an antivirus solution in place, it causes even more file I/O. So my suggestion is simply disable or exclude at least the data folder here from the antivirus scanner. You will not lose any security. I'm just talking about the on-access scanner element of your antivirus scanner. And also, if you receive any mails and you have attachments, stuff like that, this will not go to the data folder. This will always go to the temp folder of your operating system. So the Notes data folder will not be used for caching. That's pretty important. So if you exclude the data folder out of your antivirus on-access scanner, you will not lose security. You will just get a bit of performance back. If you can't do that, at least exclude the file types the file scanner can't access, or those files cannot be executed because it's just NSF files or NDK files, XML files, property files, stuff like that. So antivirus is a huge topic for performance. What makes the Notes client start slow? We do, and I talked about that last year, it's always the same. It's client crashes or database fix-ups. So if you had a client crash before, the next client start is a slow start. So what you should try to avoid is a client crash. I know it sounds silly to say that, but we have a lot of users in the world, and I see that they are not shutting down their Notes client. They are only shutting down Windows directly, for instance. Or if they use Citrix, they just kill the Citrix session. So Notes has no chance to shut down correctly. So it will crash at this time. And the next client start is super slow. It's not good because you will see that all open databases during the crash will be getting database fix-up, means a compact a consistency check. Sorry. And outdated hardware is also a thing. So if you have old hardware with less than 4 gigabytes of memory, with old disk with fragmentation, means rotation disks, you will see Notes is not working that good as you would have it with up-to-date hardware and SSDs. I'm not talking that every person in the world needs a super hot workstation, super fast, but just a normal computer. I would say something between 4 and 8 gigabytes of RAM, of memory, is up to date or is state of the art, I would say. The next thing would be tons of startup programs, means stuff which will be started during the startup of the operating system. We call it the boot storm. So if you start a lot of programs at the same time, they need longer to load as you would do it program by program. So I wouldn't suggest to start Notes at startup because it takes too long. Just use or just start Notes when you need it and not automatically. The next thing would be, what I also often see is outdated data folders. A data folder can contain, and we talk about a modern data folder with multi-user installation. Those data folders should not contain any NTFs. But what we see is that virtually all 100% of all NTFs can be just removed out of the data folders. And yes, there's a solution for that. So you can even use, for instance, Marva Client Essentials, the free version of Marva Client, which is included in the platform automatically. You can use that to solve that problem, right? So you can clean out all the old 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or even 10 templates out of the data folders, and that will just make your Notes clients faster. The next thing is the operating system itself, right? So what we see there is the operating system gets faster. So Notes 8.1 boots about 20% faster than Windows 7, and Windows 10 boots a bit about 50% faster than 8.1. This is what we see. So you will also get performance when you use, let's say, up-to-date operating systems. Wouldn't say you have to use the latest build, but you know, not older than a year or something. That can be helpful in a good way to also speed up Notes, to just have a, you know, quick or fast operating system. The next one is ODS, means the on-disk structure of your local databases. On the Domino server, and we had a famous case last year at the Russian Notes user group in Moscow. I was on site, so a couple of you already saw me on stage, and I talked about ODS, and then after the session, a person asked me like, "Yo, you know what? My computer is super slow. Maybe you can help me to get my computer faster." And it was after this session here. My boss, Florian Vogler, because I had no time, I had another meeting planned, scheduled. So my boss, Florian Vogler, helped this person to get, I think he needed something between, I'm not sure, about 2 to 4 minutes to start the Notes client. So it means a long time. And they were going down to 15 seconds just by updating the local ODS. So if users are having enough or a lot of databases in your on their local data folders, ODS, the on-disk structure of the database, will help a lot. If you have Notes 11 in place, or even 10, use ODS 53. It's the structure of the database, so it gets optimized and optimized and optimized. There in ODS 53, there are a lot of other benefits. It makes the Notes, the databases more stable. It makes it faster, less file I/O, less, let's say, operations within the client to open a database and stuff like that. So this is heavily used. And if you have an older ODS, so think about, you have an ODS of, let me use my mouse, of ODS of 43, right? If you use ODS 43 on Notes clients, on the start of Notes, the Notes client tries to open all databases in your data folder, just to understand the database in a healthy, it's a healthy database. And it can't open any databases if you use Notes 10 or 11 with older ODS natively. So it needs to change the ODS in the memory for the older databases all the time. And that means it gets updated and updated and updated, always to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, until they reach 53. So it takes a long time, right? My suggestion, just use ODS 53. It will help you a lot. It will give you just performance and stability in a way nothing else can give to you. That's my very first bottleneck and problem issue, what you see on Notes clients. The second one would be directly TCP/IP and antivirus and the mail files, what I've showed you before. The check if, you know, the refresh automatically of the inbox for delegated mail files. But this here is really helpful for everybody, right? It will not cause any negative issues. So what we see here is the difference between ODS 43 and 53 is up to 80% less file I/O. And this helps not only on the client, but also on the server. The next topic is, how can you get the ODS updated automatically? And this is pretty easy, right? This is pretty easy. What you can do is you just use what you see here, the create_r10_databases equals 1 in the Notes INI. And this will tell you, this will make all databases all databases with which will be created afterwards will get the ODS 53. That's cool. But what is with your existing databases? Yeah, the good news for Nodes since 8.5 is there is a Nodes INI entry for that. So you have to add create_r10 databases equals 1, and you have to add the NSF_update ODS equals 1 on the Nodes INI, and then all databases will be upgraded in the background automatically within the next client starts. The user will not feel that, except for, and this is pretty important, if your data folder is on a network share, I wouldn't use it that way, because if everybody is, compacting all the local database in the data folder, everybody is working on the exact same file server, your file server will go down in seconds. So then you can use script on that. You do it for all users based on a script during a weekend or something like that. And one other thing is, if you use that option, those databases can't be accessed during the compact. Means if you use that option to get those databases upgraded, and the user wants to open a database, you will see something like, sorry, this database can't be used currently, try later. And of course, you can also run the command line completely manually. You just have to call it ncompact executable from the program files folder, -c, -ods, -* -client, -update indexes. This will also update your ODS, but only if you have the create_r10_ databases equals 1 in your Nodes INI in place, right? Okay. What makes the Nodes client perform slow? So first we talked about the start. Now we are talking about the performance of the Nodes client the whole day. It's ODS, because ODS will not only help you for Nodes client start, but also for the performance itself. Again, it's hardware. If you have a slow hardware, Nodes client will not work that fast as with a good hardware, right? And also we have a couple of other things here. We have, for instance, the Nodes INI. I'm pretty sure you're all aware that we do have what we call the extension manager at INS. It's xmgr_@ins entry in the Nodes INI. And this could, there's a couple of things. So we have a couple of antivirus scanners which are automatically going into this file. Maybe some other add-ons will slow down your Nodes client. So think about if you really need those extensions to the Nodes client, those plugins, and those stuff can be disabled. For instance, virus scanners can increase network traffic easily up to 200, 250%, will cause more CPU and a lot of file I/O, but it will not increase your security level. So that's one of the reasons why it doesn't make any sense to enable a extension manager add-in virus scanner. I'm not sure if all the current versions are outdated, but I see a lot of users which are having like very old antivirus scanners in place, and they maybe have this still in their environment, so that can be removed, and then you would just increase automatically the speed or the performance of your Nodes client. And also, if you have the data folder on a network versus a fixed disk in your computer, so a fixed disk means an SSD, for instance, can be much faster as on a network share. If you have if you use it on the network, means on a network drive, it's just slowed down because the Nodes client needs a lot of files, needs to be touched all the time, and those files will be changed. And file servers are often not supporting that mode of writing, reading. Yeah. So this performance, as I always already said, is number one bottleneck. And can be due to ODS, can be due to the wrongly used data folder. If you think the data folder, you are using the data folder now on a network drive, what can you do? What can you make better? We can speak afterwards, right? So after the session, I maybe have a couple of suggestions for you. So if you have questions, write them down. We go through the questions in a couple of minutes. The next thing would be pod settings. So the TCP/IP stack is pretty important for the Nodes client, and this is the thing what should be done, I think, in a good way. So if you install Nodes, there's something what we call the legacy stuff. It's still available in Nodes, still within Nodes 11. So they deploy the LAN0 port. This is a NetBIOS port. I'm pretty sure none of you will have NetBIOS still enabled. So you can always remove all the legacy ports, which will speed up your Nodes client in a way, because if TCP/IP is not available for a moment, the Nodes client can't fall back to the disabled ports, right? If there is no disabled port, you will not experience any performance issues. So remove LAN0, all the COM ports if you have still in your Nodes INIs, and the disabled ports entry. Those needs to be disabled or removed. And then the good idea is to use your TCP/IP port as you need it. And I wrote it down. This can be valid for you, maybe not the exact same way, but so let's say for desktops, you can use it the way you see it here. The TCP/IP settings means the port is enabled and you can compress the network data, because desktops are often used directly in company networks. For laptops, I would use another TCP/IP port where you also encrypt the data. It means port enabled, encrypt the data, port compression also enabled. And for Citrix and VDI, I would suggest to disable port compression and port encryption. So it means only enable ports. By the way, by default, you will only have an enabled TCP/IP port, which means it's not optimizing anything. It will not give you any deeper security. So you have to enable encryption if you want to have security. You have to enable compression if you want to have better performance. And at least in this times here, where a lot of people working from home, port compression can help a lot. Port compression can give you can reduce the amount of needed bandwidth up to 30%, right? And don't forget the Domino service, by the way, because if you want to use port compression, it needs to be set up on both sides. Encryption is enough to enable on just one side, but port compression is a bi-directional setting. Again, what makes the Nodes client perform slow? We have Domino roaming users, and this is not often used any longer, but if you are a Domino roaming user, try to replicate at least 80 megabytes each time you log on to Nodes before you can use it. This will slow down your Nodes client, right? Connection documents. If you're pointing to outdated server names or IP addresses, we will always have the problem that if you click on the wrong icon, or you click on an icon and it tries to open a server in a wrong direction, let's say it this way, or a wrong location, pointing to this outdated stuff, it could, at least like until you reach the timeout, this is something between 15 and 45 seconds. I would say if you need connection documents, manage them. If you don't need them, remove them, right? Low priority connection documents can cause a lot of connectivity failures. So this is one of the things. So connection documents are pretty important for performance. So either you remove them, you do not have them, or you have to manage them correctly. The same goes for location documents. So if you're on a location document, if you use, for instance, an IP address for your mail server, or just the name without the organization behind, this will break policies. Also, the security policy is not able to be downloaded then any longer. Or even outdated mail and home server information, outdated mail path, a wrongly used catalog server, stuff like that. They can break database links, doc links, new bookmarks. All that stuff can slow down your Nodes client, right? And because we just talked about the catalog server, and the catalog server is not often be used. So if you don't have a catalog server in your location document managed, and you are getting a database link or a doc link or something like that, it will use your home server, right? And this is why is the catalog still important? And I can tell you why. So maybe you ever wondered why what will happen directly if you click on a database link, on a doc link, or on a view link. And this is the case now. First of all, if you get a doc link on your Nodes client, it will check whether you already have the database of the doc link, the database behind, is on your workspace pointing to replica ID or not. If yes, topmost icon on the server will be used. You open the database, you see the document, everything is fine. If we do not have an icon on the workspace, Notes will ask the catalog server. And if the catalog server is not available, it will ask your home server, right? So it will open the home server, the catalog of your home server. And what then happens is, if you have a catalog on your home server and this catalog gets replicated from server to server everywhere, that means it contains all databases on all servers. And this is the thing. So it will, because in the database link, we do have a server name, it will, sorry, a replica ID, it will search for the replica ID and it will take the first hit. So if you have a couple of servers in it, so if your database is distributed to servers, it will choose the first server. The first server is the server with, it's alphabetically sorted or ordered. And so that means it's often the case that a server in Asia or in a country which starts with an A is being used instead of the server which is close to your person. So at the end of the day, if you make sure you're using a good or a well-configured catalog server in your location document, this will help by preventing users from working on far away servers, let's say it this way. The next thing is performance measuring. This is pretty easy, a pretty important topic. It's client clocking. So if you ever have a real problem with your Notes clients and you think, I want to find out what's happening here right now, what you can do is you can use client clocking. Client clocking, I would suggest do that only on one client or two clients, not on all of your clients, because it will also cause performance issues and it will write everything down in a file. So you can really see operation by operation of the Notes client, what it's doing, right? So you can find out what takes too long time during startup, what takes too long time during opening a document or a database. So you can use those settings you see here right now, at least client_clock equals 1 in your Notes INI. And then you can also set, for instance, where is my mouse? The debug out file equals, a text file somewhere. I put it directly in the debug here on C. And what you will see then is you get a file with all the operations, with all the transactions of a Notes client. This can be hardly, you can see that this is not like, it's easy to read that out. By the way, this is opening my mail database on my server. So what you can do here to make it better readable is on OpenNTF. There's a project called the NRPC parser. And the NRPC parser is working pretty easily. You can just download it. It's free. It's the last version is from 2016. It works perfectly. It looks like this. You enable client clocking. You have the text file, and then you can import the text file into this database. And then it will show you everything based on actions. And those actions are categorized, as you can see, like open a database, open something else, and it will show you what you can see here is it will show you everything, all actions in milliseconds, how many kilobytes were read and written. Or read means downloaded from the server and sent to the server. And then you see the original line, what the Notes client is doing. So you can really find out what's the performance issue here. But again, it's something like it's a bigger search then. But it helps. It really helps to understand how you can speed up your Notes client, or what is wrong in my environment, right? It could be a database. It could be a database which is trying to open another database on a server which is not existing any longer. You can find it out with client clocking. And afterwards you can change the code to make it a better experience for the user. A very small bonus, and then we are done with today's session, is performance tuning. So if I would ask you, whoever removed the cache NDK file, and I would ask you give me a hand, everybody would show the hand and say, of course I did it. And yeah, often it worked. So I can tell you, if you remove the cache NDK file and the cache NDK file, and this will help, that means you have a problem in your database. It's often the one thing is just refresh the signature on your database on the server. So sign them again, and this is often the solution for performance or for problems itself. So just wanted to tell you, when you delete the cache NDK all the time, right? And we have a couple of customers, they did it in the past. You would see the following thing. On the left side here, oh, where's my mouse? On this side here, you see, and this is a client blocking, what should be done if you open your mail file on a Domino server, your very own mail file with 35 mails in it, after deleting the cache NDK and opening a mail file, the inbox, by keeping the cache NDK. On the left side, you see it takes about 2.7 seconds, means 2,700 milliseconds. We have to send like about 6K to the server, 6 kilobytes, and receive 1.5 megabytes from the server just to open the database if we deleted the cache NDK file. On the right-hand side, we are keeping the cache NDK file. Opening a mail database would mean opening it in 111 milliseconds. In a tenth of a second, technically, it gets opened. And we sent 1.5 kilobytes, and we received 38 kilobytes. So if you compare that to 100 users, you talk about 150 megabytes versus 3.7 megabytes. And if we go higher, 1,000 users would cost 1.5 gigabytes. Just opening the mail database, downloading means network load versus 37 megabytes, and so on and so on. And this is not including file servers. So if you have your data folder on a file server, it's even more, because you have to transfer it to your machine and then to the file server and the other way around. So please do not delete the cache NDK file. Try to find root causes that this is not needed to delete the cache NDK, right? And this is it. We are very close to the end, let's say, of the session. My summary says, if you have an update and clean out ODS and the database and the templates and your hardware in your environment, everything is good. So if you have a chance to do that, to update, clean out your ODS, to clean out database and templates, and to have an up-to-date hardware, that's thumbs up. It will make your Notes client even faster. Standardize whenever and however possible means if you have a chance to remove old outdated database icons, connection documents, all that stuff, to standardize it, to make it more clean, it will not only help you for users and for tickets and for support, for your support desk or help desk, it will also help you with performance and stability. Keep your users on Notes version fix feature packs current means try to be on a current build of Notes. And I don't mean you have to be necessarily on 11.01 FP2, although I have to say it's a great release. But if you're right now working with 8.5, you will see a lot of performance issues which are not longer existing with Notes 11, right? So try to be on the latest level if it's possible. And honestly, any challenge can be overcome with knowledge and tools. Any problems can be solved. Really, the only thing what we need to do is we need to find the root cause, and then we can solve the problem not only for one user but for all users forever in your environment. And that's really the case what you can achieve with tools, with the servers, with analyzing the problem in the correct way and not fighting against symptoms. As I said, the slide deck, what you are downloading, what can be downloaded later, will contain a bit more slides. And I'm pretty sure this is the very first time in my life that I made this session, all the slides, without going over time. So that's it. Before we get into the Q&A part, we do have a PenAgenda booth or cafe opened. You can just scan this QR code, or you can go to the penagenda.zoom.us here. Directly after the session, we will have it open for 60 minutes. If you have any additional questions, you want to talk to me or even my colleagues, we will be there, and we will be ready directly after the session. So if you're interested, visit us. And now we are coming to the Q&A, to questions and answers.
Dominic, thank you very much for the great session. And yeah, you can relax. You were talking too much. I can propose you Russian Morse. You know, it's wild berries, and it's non-alcoholic. You will feel refreshed for your next session. So here you go.
Okay.
Okay. And before you
let me try first.
Yeah, before you recover.
Delicious.
Yeah, it's very good one. So we have a question about Citrix, but I think you will cover more Citrix detail tomorrow, right, on your session, because Citrix is it's not like next finish. You have to have right bundle IDs across different servers. There are some tips and tricks. We have a question about that, but I can just invite everybody to your tomorrow's session about virtual beta faster. And yeah, it's I asked it and I answered. Yeah. So another thing, you mentioned that on Citrix, you don't have to have a compression because Citrix already compresses the data. And one compression over another, it's not good. So Marvel Client can also help with detection, right? We can understand that we are on Windows machine, on Mac, or on Citrix, and depending on that, we can do something specific to platform.
Yes, I honestly try to avoid to talk about our products too much in this session, but yes, thank you for asking or pointing that out. Right, so if you want to know how your infrastructure is configured right now with Citrix or even with laptops and desktops, the Marvel Client Analyze database can help you not only in the licensed version, but also it can help you in the free version of with Marvel Client Essentials to find out what kind of clients I do have and how they are configured. And it's pretty important. If you use compression in Citrix, it will add a lot of CPU load to it. So it will just slow down the whole Citrix environment or the VDI environment, and then it will not make it faster. It will make it more slow.
Yeah, thank you. And again, teaser that in Marvel Client Essentials, we have management of Nomad computers. So everything that run on Android, on iPads, on iOS, you can remotely control, because I will be happy that I don't need to go to top managers, configure their iPhones or something. Oh, yes. I like to do it remotely and smart way. So start with, it's a really awesome product.
And yeah, and this is completely free. So there is no way to license it because everything which is available is in the platform. Means the whole management of HCL Nomad, as you said, on iOS or Android is available for free. It's just part of the product. It just can be used without any license.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We will cover all the other questions in presentation. We have another session in a few minutes. So Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
for your time.
We can. I will do another training of Russian for you
tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So thank you very much for coming, and it was a great show as always. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vlad. Thank you very much, the whole team, and Margarita Olenko, of course. She's helping a lot. And thank you very much to the participants for listening.
Thank you.
And speak to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.